Hello, everyone out there in webinar land, and hello to the massive audience here in the Surrey Green Room in Waits, University of Surrey. My name is John Weinbrand. I run the Film, Animation and Digital Arts Master's course. I am the director of the Centre for Creative Arts and Technologies, and many other things besides, depending on what time of day it is. So I'm really delighted to welcome you all to this very special webinar seminar launch, all about a very mad virtual production competition. So a little story before Christopher comes up on stage and introduces himself. About a year ago, no, more than a year and a half ago, I got a little note from Christopher Chen, who I will introduce you in a minute, and he said he's got this idea for a virtual production competition. So I said, that sounds great. How can we help? And he said, yes, it's a virtual production competition, and I want to model it on those old style game jams, animation jams. So it's going to be 48 hours, teams of 3, and no more. So my response was, you're out of your mind. But I kind of knew that anyway, because I've known Christopher for quite a long time. But a year and a half later, so first of all, we had a go at that 48-hour virtual production competition, which was mostly in Asia and one team in the UK, I think, which was University of Surrey. But just before we started our endeavors with our 3-person team, the LED wall which we borrowed couldn't arrive. So we had to suddenly switch our technology to green screen, which is very hard. But there are people on this webinar who will show you that it's not that hard. But in any case, so I want to introduce you, first of all, to Christopher, who's going to come up on the stage, as it were, and tell you all about the competition. So thank you, Christopher. Big applause. Whoa, look at that.
Hey, thank you, John. My name is Christopher Chen, and I'm the founding director of an organization based in Tokyo called Asian Virtual Human Association. And the thing is that when we try to register this association in Tokyo, they say virtual production was taken, the name is itself. So we just have to live with virtual human. So that's one thing. And if I can put up my slides here so I can see it. Yeah. And before it comes up, some results I can share with you guys. 2023 was the first year we did this 48 hours virtual production competition. In total, we had 56 teams participated, and they are from China, Japan, Taiwan, Malaysia, Thailand, UK, Germany, and US. And most of the teams, yes, as John just mentioned, they are from Asia. And I have this friend, and he is actually from a UK company called Brompton. And Mr. Elijah runs the Asian Pacific operation for Brompton Technology. And one day he told me that since you guys have done this contest, why don't we share more outside Asia? And we kind of, thinking to ourselves, why not? Because in the past, we've been learning a lot from Europe, or we say from US. And maybe it's time we can share more to each other. And yeah, I can just continue talking before the slides comes up. So yeah, and so the virtual production itself, actually, personally, I've been speaking to quite a lot of companies in Asia and also schools. And a lot of times people see virtual production as quite attractive, but they also see some anxieties, if I can put it that way. And first of all is that people often ask, do they need to put up LED just to do virtual production? And my answer to that in Asia is always like, well, if you can afford it, by all means, put it up. If you cannot afford it, there's still good old-fashioned called green screen, which can make your entire life a lot easier. And you can still produce pretty much the kind of a result you want. And I believe one of the speakers, Matt, will be speaking about on that topic. He can share more. Yeah, that's Matt over there. And the other thing is that, okay, I'll just speak from my memory then. Okay. And the other thing is that we find, especially companies, studios in Asia I speak to, they lack of talents to do the virtual production they are required to do by their clients. And the reason is quite simple, because education system in Asia, or should I say probably around the world, is pretty much siloed. So meaning that you either teach digital assets, you learn how to do it, that's one subject, and then coding, one subject, and then filming, another subject. But for virtual production, I have this theories that the kind of talents we need will be like a T-shape, meaning that you still have your very strong center know-how, your domain, but horizontally, there's a lot of things you need to learn, need to know. Otherwise, you don't know anything about filming, you don't know anything about coding. You get into company have to train you from zero, and companies don't have time for that. So this is another phenomena we're seeing, and my slides comes up. So the image you see here, this was created by one of the participating teams from China in 2023. And I can tell you, those students participate in the contest had a real great time. In fact, I can go down to the next page, please. Right. So I was speaking about the second point, upfront investment for LED. And good thing about this is the technology moves so fast, especially when I speak to studios in Taiwan. Most of their staff need to work on the case on hand, so they don't have time to chase technology. So basically, this is another phenomenon we've seen. And so during today, another speaker is from, it's Patrick from Brompton Technology. And I especially like their company because they always talk about the key essence, color, from their technology. And I think this is a great thing for audience to learn. And talent shortage, another third thing I just mentioned. And I find it the same in China. I speak to a few studios there, and they need talents. And the fourth point I want to mention is client perception. So in the Tokyo seminar we did back in May last year, the second largest media company, Hakuodo, from Tokyo, they actually come to learn what is virtual production and why is it important to their clients. So I think the responsibility, or say the things the industry as a whole should do is that for those people who may not know anything about production, we'll need to let them know how virtual production can help them with their needs. And another example is that when we did seminar November in Taipei last year, one pet food manufacturer actually came to the seminar. So you probably imagine, why will a pet food manufacturer want to learn anything about virtual production? Because at that time we were promoting that using green screen, you can actually use a very low budget virtual production. So they have this idea, they want to produce videos for cat lovers. And for dog lovers, it's another kind of a video. So the production requirement from them is it's getting higher and higher. Next page, please. Yeah, and to sum up a little bit, we have been expanding fast around the world. So we actually signed the MOU with the Thailand Computer Graphic Association so they can promote virtual production in Thailand. And there are two kinds of seminars we do in general. Today we do is a 4-hour seminar where you can hear the input from all key stakeholders. Another workshop we did actually 5 times last year in Taiwan, China, and Japan is that we did a 12 hours workshop. So in the 12 hours workshop, we make sure that each participant get the project file, and they'll need to write a 1-minute storyboard from this project, and they need to finish shooting after 12 hours. So this has become so effective that the students, also sometimes the teachers, they participated in the 12 hours workshop, and then they feel more confident that it is entirely possible, John, to finish a 2 to 5 minute video within 48 hours after the 12 hours workshop. All right. And yeah, and also I went to Tokyo September last year to visit one of the teams, actually 2 teams. And I do find when I sit down with the studio owner who lent their facility to this student team, because school doesn't have the facility. And the owner was so happy. He said that, hey, you guys may not need to finish your school, just come to work for me. Because he saw how the students created the good stories within 48 hours using his facility. So, you know, when we run company, we do interview all the time, right? So we talk to people. How long can you talk to one person? 30 minutes, 1 hour? But in the contest, that's 48 hours. You see the students being given the topic, which is light, and come up with a storyboard, draw something, build up assets, and doing the entire production process. I think as an owner of the studio, you know right away whether this person will fit into your culture or not. If after 48 hours you still don't know, I think you have a problem. Yeah. So this is another thing I want to share with everybody, especially those who are on the line. I know today we have 60 registrations from 15 countries. And so we can use this event to spread all the information around the world. And the contest for 2024 is on the website. So you can see the link there. And we welcome people start to register. And this year we have this honor to have sponsorship from all the sponsors, about $55,000 US. You can see the details on the website. Next page, please. Right, and the result of 2023 is we had 56 teams from around the world, 28 from China, and we have partners from the industry, 20 partners. And yeah, so it was quite a successful event itself. Next page, please. So the next video I would like to show you is that we started to plan the May 2023 contest from actually August 2022. And we had this assistance from quite a few universities and companies from around the world. So please run the video. Okay, so a lot of footage you can see from the video I just show you. And for those who haven't got the chance to participate last year, I'm really hoping you guys can put together to join the contest this year. And for the next one, yeah, and as I mentioned, so the contest was given the same topic, and we'll send it out by email to each participating team 10 minutes prior to the starting time. So meaning that, for example, last year, 56 teams, right? So same topic, but 56 kinds of ideas, how to tell a good story. And for those of you, maybe you don't, how can a 2 to 5 minute be produced with a good story? So this one is the champion last year and were won by a Beijing Film Academy. So I think it'll be great if you can just watch it through and see how a team of young students can use the limited time and expand the virtual production. Please. Okay. Yeah, so I think here I'll start to talk about some rules for the contest itself. So you can see that they actually use some post-production techniques. And we're still learning how to run this contest. So this year we have a new rule, which goes like the weight of virtual production will need to take up to 30% of your entire length. So this is the rule which is different from last year. And with that said, I would like to take some questions from the Zoom or audience from the here. So do we have any questions? Right. Okay. So let me repeat John's question. And it's like, can people actually do a proper video production within 48 hours? So let me answer this question from a different angle. Is that I have the you guys probably know that in filmmaking there is a process called pre-visualization, which is using software animation mainly to produce the whole idea. In US, I guess that's been done the entire film. But the first step of pre-visualization is called pitch vis, which is a short video which conveys the strong point of your original story. So from our perspective, within 48 hours, are we looking for a extremely finely made video? No. but we're looking for a good story which can lead to the development of a good IP. And that's the essence of this whole idea. And we believe especially when we've seen the students from 2023, and they are just enjoying the limited time and really, really expand their creativity. And that's the beauty of mankind. We're not AI. We are kind of driven to create, to produce.
What we have behind us, I want to explain various things. First of all, how is it that I'm standing in front of an LED wall? Well, there's an interesting story to that. This LED wall is not used for virtual production whatsoever. This LED wall is used for showing students sports games in the evening, because we're in a place called the Waits Bar. So the specification of it is probably a little bit troubling for doing proper virtual production. Camera one, probably. But we found it on site, and we thought, okay, we'll use it for this this webinar just to see what we can do. So one of the things we do here on our course, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, is what we do is here. Okay, a lot of what I call sellotape and chewing gum. So we put things together very cheaply, very quickly, and very accessibly. And hence, we're not in a professional TV studio. We're hardly, we're in a back room of a bar that happens to have a big LED screen. And that's kind of the ethos. And that's sort of why I like the ethos of this 48-hour competition, because it's this idea that we can just have a bit of a go and see what comes out the other end. And as my question was to Christopher, you know, usually 12 people in a crew of 12, 1 week's prep, 1 day, 2 day shoot, 3 days fiddling, 5 days delivering, etc., etc. So we're doing all this in a very fleet of foot manner. I think that's what makes it interesting. So what I wanted to do in my little half an hour slot is I wanted to give you a little taste of some of the things we do here at Surrey on our courses. It's sort of shameless promotion time, but I think it's important because the people who are running this whole shebang today with the multiple cameras and the feed for the LED wall and the little switcher, which cost about 50 quid, are all the MA Film Animation and Digital Arts students. So I'm hoping, if this is possible, folks, I have in the folder a presentation. Can you find it? If not, I can come down. Lovely. Okay. Right. So this is what I want to talk about for about 10 minutes. And this is important because we are doing a very unusual and perhaps adventurous project here called FADA, Film Animation and Digital Arts. Now, I'm hoping we've got some people from Portugal in the webinar audience. If not, doesn't really matter, because FADA means fairy in Portuguese. And so the whole concept of film animation and digital arts is this. We want to make some magic in 1 year, 12 months, one master's course, about 12 people, usually, maybe 15, maybe 11. And everyone is brought here to create a final project which they can be very proud of, and it can go to festivals, and it can win awards, and we can have a great show and learn lots in the meantime. And it doesn't matter what medium we use, film, animation, digital arts, VFX, pre-visualization, full 3D, 2D animation. It really, that's not the point. The point is the story, the portrayals, what people are trying to putting across a little bit of magic. So that's why we call it that. There you go. That's the title slide. Good timing. So that's MA FADA. Next slide. And why are we doing this? You may ask. Are we on the screen? Okay, but you can see me in a little insert. Yeah. Okay. Why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because there's a real need for it. The industry and the world, let's call it that, needs really well-practiced, technically proficient, highly creative producers and directors that can speak across a whole variety of different media. So that's what we try to do. Multidisciplinary practitioners, it says here. Broad and deep level of skills for future leadership work roles within creative industries. So I used to work at the National Film and Television School, and that does the opposite. Very, very specialist courses, cinematography, animation directing, sound design, production design, etc. We do the lot, and we do the lot over a variety of different media. And the real important thing is we're interested in emerging new media forms. So everyone on the course, and me and the other people who work with us are interested in using either the latest and greatest technological tools, if we can get our hands on them, to make really great experiences. But we don't shy away from the old-fashioned stuff. We've got a bunch of Super 8 cameras, which we never use, but they look pretty. But we will also use 2D animation, hand-drawn, traditional film techniques. But the idea is, why technology? And the reason why technology is it should make things accessible. It should make things easier to do from a technical point of view. And what does that mean? It means we have a wider set of voices to tell really impassioned, great stories. And that's why we're doing it. Yeah, okay. This is like the sort of University of Surrey positioning, which is interesting, but this place is very good at engineering, technology, health, all that sort of stuff. We have an adjunct school of acting called the Guildford School of Acting, where there's some great in front of, well, usually on stage talent. We're trying to convert them to in front of camera talent. So there's lots of that. We don't really have that much of a creative arts heritage, but we do now because we're making history and heritage right here in terms of doing moving image arts. We have a department called Music and Media. Music has gone back many, many years here at the University of Surrey. Sound engineering and music for 50 years or so. So there's a heritage in that which we align ourselves with. And we also have a reasonably new broadcast engineering and broadcast technology course, as you can see how that fits into the engineering vibe around here. And that's an undergraduate course, but we're involved in master's courses here. I want to talk about the research centres and initiatives as well. The main one, there's lots of them. There's one very engineering-y one called the Centre for Vision, Speech and Signal Processing. There's an Institute for People-Centred AI, or as I sometimes say, Institute for AI-Centred People. But that is a highly engineering scientific approach to artificial intelligence. We have an Institute for Sound Recording. We have, actually not on this slide, but I'll talk about it in a minute, which is we have an Institute for Sustainability, which is a new institute which is looking at sustainability across the board. And I'll talk about that in another mini slideshow. And we have this thing called the Centre for Creative Arts and Technologies. That is very new. It's been running about 3 or 4 years. And it's me and a few pals deciding that we want a research centre. And I'll also talk about that in a minute in another slideshow. So I don't know what's coming next. So the essentials of it are very simple. 12 months, one great project, and a few bits and pieces around it. And one of the bits and pieces is called Creative Media Practices 1, Creative Media Practices 2, where we try to equip people with the skills they might need, including virtual production, Unreal Engine, all that stuff, in order to have choices as to what medium, format, and vehicle they're going to use to make their amazing piece of work by the end of the 12 months. We are big on collaboration. So a lot of master's courses and even an undergraduate courses, you're very much an individual, and it's all about marking people as an individual. We don't really care too much about that. We want people to make great work and help each other make great work. So that's why collaboration is a real thing. And guess what? That really chimes and resonates with the industry. Because once you're out there, not even in the indie sector, not necessarily in the mainstream industry, but even as filmmakers, as animators, you're not alone. You are working with hopefully people you like to work with. There's some theory stuff, and that's taught by someone incredibly clever called Gavin Stewart, who's at this moment in time, he's doing a webinar to some prospective students, I think in Taiwan, actually, interestingly enough, on the course. But I couldn't be in two places at once, but fortunately I have colleagues. So what else is, oh yeah, here's what, this is, yeah, there's a couple of things. Let's go back to, yeah, forwards, FADA insertions, done that, one more. Okay, so this is the type of things we do in our skills development workshops. 2D animation, we try to give them fancy names. Motion emotion, meaning animation, because that's all about putting emotion and motion with a pencil or digital tools or drawing pads or whatever. We have virtual character creation, and shout out to the folks in Reallusion who help us make characters and bring them to life very quickly and quite nicely. So we do some virtual character creation, we do 3D, we do some stuff on digital performance, on motion capture, on working with actors, on script writing, on all sorts of stuff. You can see it on the sheet there. And we're in the middle, the people in this room, a lot of them, well, some of them are in the middle of that right now. And they're still standing or sitting in some cases. So we haven't killed them yet. Let's have a look. So virtual production, and we're doing some generative AI work as well, Unreal Engine. So we try to equip people with the latest, greatest tool sets, which don't require you to be Disney or Netflix or Warner Brothers or Pinewood. So yeah, next. What's next? Let's say. Yeah, we've got some equipment and facilities. That's really dull. Next. And we've got a lot of industry connections. So the thing about Guildford, which is where the University of Surrey is you get on a train and 35 minutes later, you're in Waterloo Station in London, which means you're at the very close to the VFX industry. There's a lot of people today who've come in from various parts of London. So we're kind of convenient. We're also close to Longcross Studios, Pinewood, Shepperton, and we have friends out there because I used to work in this business. And it's lovely to bring in people and to bring our students out to see people in the, I'm not going to call it the real world, in the strange world of film and television production. So a lot of our graduates from our previous undergrad course are working at these kinds of places. Guildford's a bit of a computer games industry hub. So there's a lot of people around here who are working in the games industry, and they have this lovely, what I call Hollywood envy, because, you know, the games industry kind of likes to make films or interactive films or playable films, and likes to make sort of production value type things. Whereas in the past, the film industry got games envy for a while when they thought games was the way of making, you know, shed loads of money. But there is this confluence is the word I'd like to use at the moment, which is where, bless you, which is where, because we use the Unreal Engine for virtual production and real-time rendering, which is a games engine, and there's other things we can use which are far nicer and easier, like Ximetry, which we'll hear about later. But it's effectively real-time rendering, real-time 3D rendering used in animation of film is where the games industry meets the film business. The filmmaking meets games development. And so that is really interesting because we've been dabbling with this for the past 15 years. And now everyone else has caught up. So top tip to all you folks out there. It's a quote from a guy called Jonathan Lehman, who's a novelist. There is no percentage in being ahead of your time. There is no percentage in being ahead of your time. In other words, being ahead of your time, I'm a good example of that. You know, I was dabbling with these sorts of things for ages, but it doesn't matter. It's got to be the right time, right place. And the right time is right now. So what's next on this beautiful slideshow? Just a quick one about who are we looking for. Very clever people. If you want to put it on, if you want to put it on me, you can stop sharing, I think. You can just put it on me. Yeah, we're looking for very clever people. I don't know if you can see all this. I'll stand out the way, but I do want to sort of gesture a bit. We've got Catherine Bigelow, who's a very clever filmmaker, but she's also a really creative person. And she's one of the sort of highlighting and early female directors. We've got Brian Cox, who used to be in a band called End Dreams, so he's a musician as well as a scientist. This chap is called Feynman, who is a physicist who plays the bongos and is an extremely cross-disciplinary artist, musician. And Richard Feynman won a Nobel Prize for something clever in physics. And this is an architect who's recently died, and I've forgotten her name, but I should know, who is beautiful artist, an architect and technician. So yeah, so what are we looking for? Someone with broad and deep range of interests, artistic and culturally aware, technically confident, a communicator, articulate, either in media or in voice or in writing, great storyteller, visually literate, all the bullet points there, media savvy. We need people who are clever. You know, you've got academic high flyers are useful, passionate about the arts. So 3 things I always say, which ring true. 3 things that we need to be. 1, we need to be interested in the world. Okay, so whoever you are, to do a course like this and to do this sort of work as a producer, director, maker, creator, is you have to have interests in the world, not just interests in yourself, not just interests in your social media feed, but interests in what's going on in the world in all its variants. And secondly, you have to be an interesting person. So interesting as in you've got things to say, you've got opinions, you've got stories to tell, and you just have to be the kind of interesting person that you'd want to sit down with somewhere over a coffee or a beer or whatever you do and talk to. And that's really important because that communication and that emotional integrity and emotional intelligence is what comes through people's work. And 3, very important, the 3rd quality that people have to have is be nice. Interested, interesting, and nice. So we want to work with nice people. Everyone works with people they want to work with. And it's a team game, cliche alert. So that's why I always say interested, interesting, and nice. Those 3 things. And if people on the end of this webinar do nothing else, if they take those 3 things away, if they want to be in the production industries or in the media industries or being creatives in their spare time while working in a cafe or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Those 3 things are really important. Interested, interesting, nice. Okay, that's the end of that. I think. Yeah. So the next, I've got about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I can't see that actually. So I've got about 5 minutes. I've got to watch. So I'd like very quickly to show a couple of little virtual productions we've done. So I'm going to stick it to screen share, and I'll come and drive. You can hear it. I'll get you to cue the next one. When we did get our LED panels in, too late for this competition last year, of course, we thought, okay, so there's a challenge has been laid down. 48 hours, 3 people, something. So we did it. And we did it, including getting the panels in. And it was myself, my colleague Anselin, who's somewhere in the room as well, and a couple of other people, well, one other person crew-wise, and some people in the background. So, and we did it in kind of 24 hours just to see if it could be done. And the results, which still isn't quite finished yet, but I might just show you a little bit of it. This is Act 1, Scene 5 of Macbeth. And it's when Lady Macbeth goes batshit crazy because she's just received a letter from her husband saying, "You're going to be queen, I'm going to be king, we have to kill everyone." And she reckons, well, I'm not sure you're up to it, mate. So she summons the spirits into herself and goes for it. And she goes quite crazy. So the only twist in this is that's in Ukrainian, because we got a Ukrainian actress. We thought it'd be nice to do it in Ukrainian to show our solidarity. So this is Ukrainian Macbeth, Come You Spirits, or Dukas Merte, by Alina Vinacek. And it's very simple. We haven't quite done the sound yet, but I thought it might be interesting to have a look. So cue that and share screen.
Вони перестріли мене в день перемоги, і я незабаром пересвідчився, що знання в них вищі за людські. Я запалав бажанням розпитати їх докладніше, але вони розтанули в повітрі. Не встиг я отямитись, як з'явилися посланці від короля і привітали мене кавдорським таном, титулом, що ним незадовго до того вшановували мене оті віщі сестри, пророкуючи мені ще більшу велич словами: Макбете, славен будь, король майбутній. Вважаю за обов'язок сповістити про це тебе, найдорожча співучасниця мого величчя, щоб ти, бува, не втратила належної тобі радості, не відаючи про ту велич, яка на тебе чекає. Збережи це в своєму серці і до зустрічі.
Духи смерті! Сюди! До мене! Стать мою жіночу змініть. Із голови до п'ят наситьте люттю. Згустіте кров. Не допускайте жалощів до серця, щоб наміру жорстокого мого і рішучості незламної природа не похитнула каяттям. До персів моїх прилиньте, оберніть у жовч їх молоко. О, демони убивства! Хоч де б ви злу служили. Темна ноче! Зійди в повита хмурим димом пекла. Щоб ніж тих ран, яких завдасть, не бачив. Щоб небо, розірвавши мли покрови, не закричало: стій! Стій!
You can imagine a lot of sort of focus pulling problems. I can't even, 5 minutes. Wow. Okay. So, a lot of, yeah. And, moving cameras, just insanity. It was just crazy. But we thought we'd give it a go. Obviously, nice castle background, LED wall, very small studio, not much height. You know, you've got to give it a go, haven't you? So we've got other examples of virtual production we've done. But we just wanted to prove before our MA started that we could do it. So that's me. And there's time for Q&A. Okay, any questions from the floor? Come on, you can think of something. Christopher. Mm-hmm. Tell that to these guys. There they all are. Yeah. No, I mean that's what I'm really excited about it. I'm also terrified on their behalf because it's not straightforward. But I think all these little opportunities that come up, courtesy of the Asian Virtual Human Association, and we might as well. And last year, okay, we ended up with a bunch of green screen footage and badly rendered background, and but that's because I learned lessons from that. We didn't have a course at that point, so we just had to grab anyone off the street and say, "Can you three be our students?" They made a valiant effort, but the point was it was too long, too much story, too much. It was about two girls on a boat getting lost, bumping into a ghost pirate who was a lighthouse keeper who took them to prison and tortured them. It's like feature film length. So that was a very easy lesson. So whatever the theme is, I'm sure people will come up with something. I'm sure you people out there in webinar land or recorded webinar land will come up with some ideas and approaches. And I think it's a very exciting thing to do. And I am amazed and impressed at how many partners and institutions and interests that Christopher's managed to wrangle in around the world now. And we want to make a headway in Europe. So that's why we're here. I think we're done. Oh, I got thumbs up. So thank you very much.
Okay, so pleasure to meet finally, everyone. And thanks for being here. I only have 30 minutes, and probably I could talk far more about the subjects I want to. So I'm trying to be as fast as I can, and hopefully not be too monotonous at the same time. So my name is Matt. I'm a senior technician and consultant from Xymetry, a company that has been previously shortly mentioned a couple of times ago. And what I'm shortly going to do is a couple of things. First, I'm going to talk a bit about ourselves so that you can place us in this vast university of virtual production that we have. And also, I am going to then try and prove a point to which I'm going to get momentarily. So the first things, and by the way, everything that you see behind me is coming from Xymetry, because why not? And also this lovely thing that I hold in my hand is going to be my way of controlling my laptop from here, again, because of Xymetry. Why not? About us as a company, we have a couple more than 15 years behind us, 40,000+ customers, present in 80+ countries in 5 continents, big numbers and big numbers. And also, which is quite interesting, we are supporting 60+ universities worldwide, and also many more educational institutes. So why I mentioned this is because we strongly believe in education and in supporting students all across the globe to learn more about virtual productions in general. Of course, we are a tool provider. We create a software that you can use to create virtual productions, but this is our capabilities, this is what we can do to gain or provide access to such tools, and so that you can learn more about them. And generally speaking, our goal in terms of the company is to make virtual production accessible to everyone. And I did not put an asterisk there because I do believe that everyone means everyone, in the sense that there shouldn't be any exception. If someone wants to do virtual production, they should be able to do it. Well, in terms of the software that we provide, Xcemetry is a virtual studio software that utilizes its native render engine plus Unreal's render engine. Now you can use either one or the other, or you can use two of them together. And with them, you can do all sorts of virtual production. You want to have a green screen production, you can do it. You want to have XR because you have like a huge LED wall at your disposal, let's do that. You want to have augmented reality, you can do that as well. If you want to combine them and have green screen with augmented reality, you can do that. With LED-wall and green screen together, why not? With LED-wall, green screen, and AR together, again, you can do it. So essentially, a tool is best when it can do what you need it to do. And that is what we are striving for and trying to recreate and put together. So generally, we usually listen to what people need and what they're asking for. We develop them, we share them, and we repeat it over and over again. And so far in the last 15 years, it's worked pretty hard and pretty well for us. Now, currently, Xcemetry comes with a lot of cool features that you might find useful, like an award-winning chroma keyer, maybe for a still camera or for a track camera. We have our own calibration tools. We have our own tracking calibration tools. We have a nodal-based editor that looks like this. To give you an example, for example, and oh yeah, this is actually what you're seeing here. And this is the upper module there called screen capture. And if I switch back to the slideshow, then here we are. And we also have a lot of virtual production specific features that's going to facilitate or make your life easier. And also we can create control boards like the one that I'm currently working with that looks like, for example, this. And I'm just pressing buttons here, like that one, and I go back to being here at the presentation. So it's a fun little tool that you can fool around and work around, and it's quite a good thing to do so. So what I'm going to talk about today, as I mentioned, I'm trying to prove a point here, at least that's my goal, is two things. First, provide you with a budget-friendly virtual production case, and then show you some high-end virtual production cases, all trying to point into one single direction and challenge the preconception that virtual production is expensive, that you need a lot of tools, that you need a budget to put them together, and you need years and years of hard work and study life to do so. Ever since VFX has been around in Hollywood in the last 3 decades or a bit more so, that was the case for the most time. And also virtual production meant in most times post-production. Now, Xcemetry is a live rendering engine, and we do everything as we speak, including, for example, what you see behind me. So what am I going to do then? Oh, are we working? Yes, that is the one. And this is the one thing that I have now. Now you can see actually how I'm going to map a device right now. Simply going to assign a keyboard for that, like this one. And I'm going to switch to this particular thing. Okay, so I have a laptop here. That is my computer. I assume that most of you have a laptop at some point in your life, or currently you have a laptop. And I also have a cell phone in my disposal. This is all I need actually to make virtual production. Now, almost everyone has a cell phone today, almost everyone has a laptop today, so why not just use these tools at our disposal? And I'm also actually going to have an application on my cell phone called Xcemetry Eye which is an experimental feature, to be honest. And the goal with this feature that we just developed recently is not to try and compete with bigger, more expensive tracking devices that you can get on the market, because they are there for a reason. And if you have worked with them, you know that they offer many benefits over, for example, a mobile phone. But, and this is a very important but on our part, the skills that is required for the operators behind the software, for example, or for the creative minds coming up with the stories, or basically any aspect of virtual production that is not too specific, like a tracking device, for example, or a camera, is the same. It doesn't matter if you're working, for example, with tens of thousands of pounds, for example, camera, for example, or like a budget DSLR that you found on your shelf. What you need to do with them is pretty much going to be the same. And so you can start learning these techniques and you can start learning these skills that you're going to need to develop your virtual production, for example, in the future. Now, I'm going to press a button here. And shortly, there's supposed to be a video feed. Ooh, all kinds of things here. And I'm also going to just make a quick check here by pressing a single button on this phone. Now, I need someone to take this phone from me. Anyone? Okay, one more thing that I need to mention is that we are currently on the university's Wi-Fi network. And generally speaking, we recommend a separate local area network so that you can do what you want to do with it. So there might be a lot of traffic on this network that might interfere, for example, with what you're going to see there. So what you see behind me is a straight feed from the camera through Wi-Fi to my laptop, all the way to Zoom and all the way out to the Word. Basically, that's a phone, that's a laptop, and those are already some AR graphics that you can see. Now, of course, this is a bit, well, you mentioned 48 hours challenges. This was less than an hour, so you're going to see the limitations of it. And also a couple more things that might be fun. But you can already do some fun things with it. If I am pressing the right buttons, yeah, you can animate them, for example, if you want to, or you can animate them again, because why not? And you can also move these items, like let's say, let's make them further behind, or let's place them somewhere else. Like, let's place them over Christopher. And at the same time, just make a turn. If you check something around there, I assume that you can see on the space that there's gonna be now the wall. Yes, there it is. No, it was a little to the right, above, exactly. So there's now the animation, and there can come the airplane if I'd like to. Yeah, there is a specific thing that I would need. So you can do all kinds of these crazy things actually. And the funny part about this, because I tried yesterday, because I had a crazy idea that could it work even without the Wi-Fi? What if I have a friend who has a cell phone and the friend can create a hotspot, connect the laptop to the hotspot, connect the other phone to the hotspot, and use that as a hub to share the video feed and a tracking device? And funny enough, it works. Now, of course, the connection is of importance in this case. So if you have, for example, a very, very long reception, you might lose some tracking data packets, or the video might shake a bit, for example, in terms of you lose a couple of frames as you go. But just a simple idea that, okay, if you want to go out to the nearest forest, for example, and shoot a virtual production with your friend in an afternoon using some AR graphics and elements, you can do it. All you need are probably the tools that you already have at your disposal. So as simple as that. That's one fun thing. Also, if, for example, you want to go a grade higher and achieve something a bit more interesting, then I'm going to stop this for a second. And I am going to actually load in for a moment. Let's try this one. A different scene. Thank you. I'm going to take the phone back. Kind of neat. Okay, so what I'm going to do next actually is a bit of a post-production. So I have a phone, of course, right? And I can use it as a live video input, and I can use the live tracking data. Why not? It's funny enough. But I can also use this to make recordings. So let's say, for example, I have access to a green screen studio, and I can just simply bring my laptop, my phone, for example, go there, set up the lights, have a talent stand in front of the green screen, act some bits, for example, and in Symmetry, I can receive and record the raw video input, and I can record the raw tracking data. Now, since I've done that, I can always use that for post-production. And I can actually use those recordings and put them anywhere I want to. So here in this particular moment, and you can see me, lovely. Okay, I actually have my playback video file that I can just turn off or I can just turn on that I previously recorded. And again, I mentioned this is a mobile phone recording that I have put here. Will it be imperfect? Absolutely. Did it take a lot of time and effort? No. So I'm just going to actually run through the setup process for a while and just check one more thing. Yeah, this is what I need to pull here probably. Nope. Nope. Or may I be hearing the wrong? Yeah, Symmetry also, among many other things, is a video editor that you can do if you want to. Oh yeah, that's the input. Perfect. Okay, so I can just simply pick a background color from here. There we are. So I set the greens color. Then I'm just going to switch, for example, to a matte view and just quickly make one cut, two cuts. Well, black jeans are not the perfect tools for such environment as we learned the hard way, but they are there. So that was a quick setup. Also, I need a 3D cropping tool, actually. It's quite convenient right here. You just set it a bit closer, cropping from the left side, cropping a little from the right side. Now, when I teach about the use of Symmetry, this is not how I usually do things, and not how I usually explain things. But right now, they are going to just work fine. 10, thank you. All right, a little from the front. And there we are. Almost, may I say. A bit of a rendering there. Let's just place the talent somewhere. Seems like a good spot. Let's use a billboard for it. Let's place the billboard as well. So everything you see, I'm doing it right now, live with you guys. You can see it's really not that much of a challenge. Okay, can be that way. And of course, I could further perfect it, but this is where I am. And one more thing, let's turn that off. Let's turn that one off and see what I just had created. One more thing from here. Let's just output two things for the sake, perhaps a fourth one. Now, there I am. With mobile phone recording, in post-production, I can move around. Of course, it's not perfect, but as you can see, it took me like 3 minutes to put it together from recording. And there I am. Now, if you give me more time, I can do better things. Nevertheless, what I'm trying to prove here, as I mentioned, is that you do not need a lot of things to get started. You do not need a lot of time, for example, or money to create the necessary resources and environment so that you can finally start the first step, for example, in virtual production. And you don't even need the studio for that matter. So you can do all kinds of crazy things, for example, for the next year. And by the next time that Christopher is going to come around and say, hey, next 24 hours challenge, for example, is here, the 48 hours challenges, you can be as experienced as almost none of your contemporary students, for example, or peers, if you want to be. The opportunity is right there. Now, these are actually for the budget categories. But if you get back to the previous subject that we had, right, say here, switching between scenes can be an interesting thing. And am I where I want to be? Perfect. Okay. Then there's also a couple other cases, for example, that you can see. One, for example, if you have more budget and more time, then you create all sorts of green screen productions, for example, that you can see behind me, that are all shot, for example, across the globe from different creative artists, to which we are very proud, to be honest. And it's the same software. So Xmetry now currently is used by TikTokers and YouTubers, and also by national televisions. Some of the content creators that we work with produce content on a daily basis. Some of them produce content on a weekly basis that is watched by millions of viewers worldwide. And the software right there on my computer is free of charge. Now, I know it sounds crazy. Of course, when it's free of charge, there's going to be a watermark on the output. But if you want to get rid of it, that costs you €3 per month. If you want to get rid of it and have, for example, Unreal as well, that's going to be like €15 per month. Last time I tried in London, that's 2 pints of beers. So also, you can have, for example, extra productions for that method. I'm not going to show you the entire video because why not? But again, still Xmetry. And also, if you want to, for example, shoot AR, and AR has a tremendous benefit, for example, an advantage that many people, for example, do not talk about, in my opinion, is that you can scale it anyhow you want to. Now, this particular show ran last Saturday in Western Asia. And again, it's Xmetry, and it is above a football stadium. And it's AR. And the guys brought a couple of cameras, a couple of computers, and they shot an entire show that was watched by, if I'm not mistaken, around 80 to 100 million people. And it was fun. And of course, I can speed up the things a bit because there's going to be a lot of animations here. Of course, it was just an opening ceremony and then the concert, which is not here, but going to be here. Yeah. Again, AR. And in the last minutes before the show started, we were having a conversation with them and saying how they can blur the AR graphics, add some noise to it, just to mimic the optical quality of the cameras that they had. So it's going to look more like the part of the show. So generally speaking, there's a lot of things that you can do with Xmetry. And there's a lot of things I have not talked about virtual productions. To give you an idea, and those are right here. Yes. Q&A time. And also, if you want to scan the QR code, I created a landing page for you on our website to offer you some more resources where you can learn more about what we do, learn more about, not connected to us, about virtual productions, what we've learned about virtual productions, and also some nice tools and gadgets that might be of your interest. And if at this point there's any question, I'm more than happy to answer. No. All right. There's plenty of examples for that. We also have a content creator in France. Yes? Oh, yeah. So the question was that what I'm showing here is an amazing broadcast broadcast production tool actually. And if there's any people who use it, for example, for single camera drama. And the answer is yes. There are several actually people and several customers of ours and clients and friends who are shooting, for example, in their garage, for example, or in their apartment with a single camera TV shows and YouTube shows that they then broadcast and give away. So I move around a lot, I know. So in a sense, there is no limitation. If you want to use a single camera with symmetry, you can. If you want to use, for example, dozens of camera with symmetry, you can as well. You have tracking devices, perfect. You have no tracking device, doesn't matter. You have no tracking device, but you want to track a camera, you can do that with symmetry as well. So essentially, we have a running joke in our office. Whatever you say, we can do it with symmetry. And the even bigger joke is that 99% of the cases is true. And even we are surprised sometimes what we can achieve with it.
So, will any work with your project?
It is, yes. I'm not in the sales department, so I'm limited in terms of what I can say, but we actively and we are eagerly seeking opportunities to share what we achieved and what we created. And so if someone is eager to learn, we usually find a very good relationship between each other that is mutually beneficial actually. But the point is usually on providing the tools that is needed for education to learn more about virtual production. Doesn't matter where those students going to go in the future. What matters is what opportunities they have now. I'm listening. I just one. You didn't hear the question online. But the last question was that it seems that we are very generous to universities. I believe so. Well then, it's a pleasure being here. And thank you for the invitation and for the details.
So as I said earlier on, my name is, what is my name? Oh yeah, my name is Rob Chandler. I'm going to push there. This is a film, right? There's a reason for it to be a film, which I shall not bore you with. So I use my clicker to stop and start it, go backwards and forwards. If there are questions and you want to go see something backwards, just put your hand up or shout in the forum. It's 30 minutes. This is a 26-minute film, which I stop a lot. The last time I did it to University of Arts London, it went on for about an hour and a half. I know we've only got half an hour. So I was just trying not to waffle, which I'm already doing. So me, that's it, me. So it's interesting actually what a couple of people have said already. I've spent 3.5 years doing virtual production. So before virtual production, I was a global head of events for a large software company. Before that, I worked for Microsoft. And when the pandemic happened, the music stopped. There wasn't a particularly comfortable chair for me to sit on. So we decided to move chairs, and I sort of looked at virtual production while I was working for Salesforce and thought, oh, this is interesting. That's going to be doing stuff in the future. Oh, hold on, I was just you. Right. I won't get too panicked then. And I thought that's interesting. That's going to be a thing. It'll be a 5 or a 10-year overnight success. So from that, I've spent 10,000, 12,000 hours looking at virtual production. To Jonathan's point, there's no percentage gained by that. Absolutely not. What I was learning 3 years ago is legacy now. So, but the point of that is the fact that if you are a student and you're interested in getting into this in 3 years' time, you are going to be an expert as much as anyone else in the room, right? So just bear that in mind. So this is 10 things that you need to know about virtual production, or my view of what you need to know about virtual production, that you probably didn't know, but maybe you did. Maybe you did. Right, what's the first one? Right, it is an easy thing. So what is virtual production, first of all? That's a very good question. So all born from these bad boys, really, which was Lucas, Industrial Light and Magic. And the Mandalorian is the famous one, everyone sort of knows, which is a big volume out in that America somewhere. Let me just go quickly back. And one of the main reasons was because the Mandalorian's helmet was shiny. And they had this challenge that they needed to not go into huge amounts of post-production. You know, a Star Wars film, I don't know, probably cost £500 million or dollars or something like that. And they wanted to make, I guess, 6 episodes of a Star Wars AAA production kind of thing, which is that's a lot of money if you could sort of take it through the same production process as a AAA film, but they couldn't because they didn't have that sort of ridiculously large amount of film or time, really. So they needed to sort of work out a different way of doing it, which is to use LED walls, like a that. And you can see the guy standing in the background with a shiny helmet on, I think. They had lots of challenges with it because it was pushing the boundaries. It was a pioneering technology. And then the pandemic came along and lots of people started using it. There we go, nice shiny helmet. The other type of virtual production actually is more the green screen tech, which is famously came of age, or certainly was more visual or more awareness of in the public eye when we had the pandemic and the BBC in the UK had to broadcast as if they were in Tokyo, but they weren't, they were in Manchester. So they built a very tall set, which is on the top of a high rise in Tokyo. And, you know, it looked pretty good, except those fish. I have really always had a problem with those fish because they really don't look like fish. Everything else is pretty awesome, actually. So that gives you a good idea of what sort of what that type of virtual production is as well. But there are sort of a bunch of other, there are other bunch of types as well. I think anyway. So these are two certainly for filmography and broadcast. So there's a few techniques actually that don't require vast amounts of technology. One of them is a backplate or a driving plate. Right. So this is a driving plate, as we see here. It's a static camera, and you could put pretty much any film on it, and I could walk across, or you could get sort of a set built here that makes me look like I'm sitting in a car, and you've got a movie playing in the background called the driving plate, and it looks like you're driving. Not only that, but you get lots of pretty reflections in shiny cars as well, which you can see. So if you're mad enough to think that your 48-hour competition requires a driving scene, or if the entire thing could be a driving scene, right, there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't do it here. The only change, you know, you might be able to get away with doing some camera movement, but you know, pretty much you could do a really cool driving scene, you know, dialogue between two people. It'd just be interesting how you get a car in here, or plane, or whatever. Another technique is this one here, which is 2.5D. Now, 2.5D, as you can see, is 2.2D planes within a 3D environment. These work really well for camera movement that is really only, it's mid ground to wide, because you only have a small amount of camera movement. The parallax is still sort of tricking the mind that it's 3-dimensional, but you don't need to move from one area, from this side of that spacecraft to the opposite to do a reverse. That's where you'd have to actually have a completely different 2.5D thing. And the third option is the really quite can be very complex and is very complex version as well, which is that you decide to build an entire 3D environment. This is obviously a railway station in somewhere. This is a lot of effort, right? So let me just quickly flip back to that. Yeah, this is not a small amount of effort if you compare it with the other two, right? With driving plate, you can download it. I mean, I did the driving plate once of a video taken from the front cab of a train going through the Swiss Alps. And was they just put that on there, make it look as if you're doing something. So there's ways of being able, depends on how your breakdown works, you know, apply it to and then apply the technology really that's required to get that shot. Try not to create a big mammoth uplift to create just a 3D world, which you'll do one shot of, and it's a static camera. That's an awful lot of work to do. And one of the hardest things to do in BP is making the world look real. I'll come on to that in a minute, which is why horror films and sci-fi is pretty cool for. Right. Blah, 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 blah. How am I doing for time? I've done one so far, and we're probably a quarter of an hour in. Bad techniques and creative and art and all that kind of stuff. This, I will run it through, is by a guy you can find online. Look at the bottom. This is all in Unreal Engine. It's all in Unreal Engine. Now, it's absolutely exquisite and brilliant. Could you use it in real time? I doubt it very much. There's probably the rendering takes, I don't know, a day per frame or something ridiculous like that. And you can see the prog, that's the sort of giveaway for me, is the prog looks like quite mechanical. But it gives you an understanding of what you can achieve with a lot of effort put into it. This is a film we shot on a green screen. This wasn't quite live compositing. The only thing real is in here, and sorry I haven't got sort of before and after, is the bar, obviously the talent and the stalls. The back is absolutely all CGI and Unreal, and done in Unreal, and actually looks pretty cool. But what we've done here is that we've lent into a sort of a stylized version of the world. Wes Anderson, I think it's Wes Anderson. Sometimes say Wes Craven, which I know is wrong. So it's Wes Anderson. So it's a stylized. And if you apply a stylized to it, it is less likely to be to hit that sort of uncanny valley. That doesn't look quite right. Because you're using blocks of color, right? And a bit of lighting. So the green is a really easy, you know, click on green, it works. And apply a little bit of lighting, books. So really sort of stylized. That was good fun. So the other one is, I don't know what happened there. The other one is really leaning into the possibilities of what you can do. And you can see here, this is all trigger based. I'll probably go back if it goes. So these circles came back. Let me just go back. These are trigger based. You can see there's some physics on some of the bits that come flying in. As well, you can't really see it actually well on there. Yeah, so there's that's opportunity. So think through that creative lens that you want to try and portray, because that's a relatively simple thing to do. You know, putting in single colors, you will achieve a lot in a lot more time, and even actually using it for pre-visualization to build your story is a lot easier as well, versus trying to get absolutely the final pixel version of your CGI in Unreal or however you're going to use it. Trying to do that and then start filming, that's a big mountain. Suddenly you've squeezed your entire time to try and roll cameras on the last hour because you've done so much. So think about it, how you want to apply those things. This one here is another scene. So this is real-time composite we've used. It uses an Ultimate hardware Kia. Have you ever heard it? So this is real-time in a green screen studio. I think the camera moves a little bit, but actually look at the feet. So the circle that you see is actually a real things that are on the ground, carpets. That's the word I was looking for. But actually the pink area isn't. That's a green floor. And we comp this in live. And you can see the shadows around the bottom. And you can see the cameras moving. So there's other things that you can sort of capture that you might not know to be able to capture, and just to avoid that uncanny valley as well. One of the great things about one of the promises of Unreal Engine and virtual production is that you have a control of the environment, which means that you can shoot all day long at golden hour, at blue hour, at rain, cloud, thunder, lightning, which is it's a great benefit as well. So this is a slightly technical part of this bit, is the fact that, so this is Unreal Engine, and that bit there is what the camera sees down there. And this is just flicking, you can use Unreal, so you can be really rapid with it. You don't need to build an entire new set to do nighttime. You can do it with a click of a button, right? If there are tools within Unreal that allows you to create something called a variant, and you can put the lights in to create variants, so you can sort of be you can be dynamic about how that works. And you can see it here. This is live composite again in a green screen studio. It's really awesome, even if I do say so myself. But we've flicked from daytime to afternoon time. If you look at the light, and then the next one, I believe, is nighttime. There you go. And that's literally just by the push of a button. And you could do some other things as well if you wanted to around that. So think about that, the story you're trying to tell. I'm going to let this one run just for a second. This is done again, live in a green screen studio. This is technically challenging in as much as, let me just pause it in a sec. These two gentlemen were sitting on a table, and we had a turntable underneath them. And we had 3 members of the crew slowly pulling this turntable. It was only 6 feet wide. Slowly pulling it. The turntable was connected into Unreal, and it controlled the pan of the camera of the scene. So actually, it was a remote control for the panning of the camera, which allowed you then to get this type of shot, which actually is pretty cool, even if you do say so myself. Yeah, so all of that background's live, again, live composite, and it's just a sensor within that turntable that allows you to do this. And you can sort of see actually some of the jittering isn't the Unreal environment. It's actually just people who have these handles and we're pulling these circuit things. This is my twin brother, my younger twin brother, who this is done a long time ago. This is in 4 something, 27 or something like that. But the point of this is environmental change. One of the things I think that is will avoid uncanny valleyness is just to have a small amount of movement within a scene as well. So there's quite a lot of movement going on in the scene. There's some fog, I guess, or mist rising. You've got some dust particles. There's a bit of, I think there's some lens flares going on as well somewhere if you spot them. So you sort of get a bit of an idea of what you can do just to make it look slightly different. You can put wind in to move the trees. This is just literally rapidly changing something in the set to make it more in line with what you're trying to do. We were doing something around sort of fashion on this, and obviously trying to tie in the wardrobe with an asset within the scene as well. Very, very rapid. These were all done in DALI, I think, something like that. But it means that you can contextualize sometimes really, really rapidly as well. So you don't have to build completely new sets. So that's another sort of thing to sort of think about that you can apply. This one, we'll let it run. So this is what I was talking about a bit earlier on, about just doing something really subtly. If we didn't have those 2 flashing orange lights over there, it could just be a static thing, a picture, which is an option, absolutely. But just by doing the subtlest of movement within that background image, and this was a 3D image, so you could even move the camera if you wanted to, means that it's sort of the old reptilian brains kicking in and going, oh, actually, it's not, they are somewhere, they are somewhere. a bit about agility that you can do versus kind of stuff that you can't. Oh, hello. I've got to try and remember what this is. Oh yeah, so this I know what this is. Oh yeah, this is a real-time short of how long it actually physically takes to go from one scene to another, right? So it can be a nightmare running project if someone turns up on the day of filming with a thumb drive. If it is fully tested, it will be pretty rapid, and you will always be waiting for hair and makeup, the DOP to do lighting, the director to get his camera shot blocks in as well. Because if it's been optimized, if you understand what you're shooting, and you've run it, you've installed, you know, whatever plugins or the programs that you need to use. This is how that's how long it takes. That is real time to go from one scene to another. Yeah, so it's not just about lighting and where you can click lighting scenarios on and off. That is now live down in that bottom right corner. So yeah, that's literally how it can be done. But you have to test it. You have to test it fully. It's pretty cool, right? What's the next one? What's the next one? How am I doing for time? 7 minutes. Oh man, I've got about an hour's worth of content to do with. Oh, this is yeah. So this was done in real time green screen, handheld camera as well. This was a proof of concept to do whether or not you could do comedy multicam as well. So it was only put in. It was only recorded once, but we had 2 cameras on the talent to be able to capture as much as possible. That's one of the flexibilities you have with green screen. Over you can do multicam with LED. It's a bit more challenging, but you can get a lot out of green screen, especially if you've got somebody who really knows how to do keying, live keying. So it was all done live. That was live composite. Flexibility side of things. This is Karim on my one of the crew. So he went out, and this is a bit janky, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what you can do. So he went to film a field somewhere miles away, and put a green screen outside his window, because you can actually see the bricks up here, right? And he put a green screen up and then played that into the Unreal scene as an AR, which allows you to then do, you know, you might find the perfect venue, but it has, I don't know, something pretty ugly out the window. It allows you to do that in camera, yeah, as well. It's pretty cool. This is a proof of concept. This guy here is a guy called Sean Keaveney. But this is actually, again, this uncanny valleyness of putting the subtleties of some of the tools that you have within Unreal Engine to good use. So that's a meta-human on that in the scene, and they're just slightly moving rather than being just a static, and someone walking outside. It just gives that level of sort of believability that you might not necessarily have if it's just a static picture. So having, you know, birds flying about, an aeroplane flying, someone sitting in the corner just moving his elbow, your brain will pick up on it, and your viewers' brains will pick up on it, even if you don't think. You don't have to have people walking around. You don't have to have meta-humans doing a dance or anything like that kind of thing. Shot type. What was this one about? Oh, I know what this one was about. I'm gonna go over this one because somebody else is speaking to this bit. Oh yeah, so this one's quite cool. Let me go back. Blah, 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 blah. That's someone being thrown around. Opening sequences. You don't have to have a human in, and you don't have to, you know, for establishing shots, do necessarily virtual production. Part of the process of building your environment is the fact that you've built the environment, and you can use it for something like an establishing shot. You know, you've done this, oh, we're going to be in there. The rest of the action takes place inside of the cabin, right? There's no human, and it's a lot easier to do this kind of shot. And as you can see, it's a pretty spectacular shot, right? And I don't think it took Mr. Kelly too long. This one is pretty simple, and it just shows you the power of VP. This is just literally pulling focus. So if you wanted to put the drama in between two talent, two actors, and the background, there's something in the background, you can do that. It's a little bit harder with an LED wall because you have to, there's some mechanics that you have to do it. This is green screen, and this is final composite as well. So it does allow you to do this kind of drama. I'm going to reverse. I haven't got a reverse to show you, but you can imagine to do a reverse, all you need to do is turn the entire Unreal set 180, not 360, and then get the talent to do exactly the same thing. And you don't even move the camera to do that. This is me and my incredibly poor handheld. And it probably isn't quite as synchronized as it could have been, but it does sort of show you the extremes of a bad camera operator like myself and what they can achieve, if you can call that an achievement. But you get the idea. It doesn't have to be locked off. It doesn't have to be a slow track. You can do something slightly dynamic with it as well. A similar one here. This is slightly different. This is all post-composite as well. This is from Red Robin Films. They did a short. And actually, this is really interesting. They wrote this, I think, a week before the shoot. They did a day of shoot and they did a couple of days of edit, I think. So this is sort of in the realms of what the competition is sort of talking about. Single camera, one scene, one actor, keeping it simple. Depth of field is one thing, actually, is your friend, which probably doesn't talk about too much. Depth of field can be absolutely your friend. Everything can be soft. Make everything soft. Then you don't have to go in and create Coke cans that look like Coke cans just in case someone zooms into them. These are just sort of shapes. There's been an establishing shot, but the rest of it's pretty it's soft. So lean into that ability to have a short depth of film, short depth of frame, short depth. No, yeah, that thing. The thing I'm trying to say. Filmmakers will know what I'm talking about, right? Live compositing. So this is I think you saw the video a bit earlier on, the green screen. And this allows this sort of previs, right? So that's on set. So the actors, the DOP, the directors can all see what is going to happen on set rather than trying to imagine it. And it's amazing to see the camera op actually looking across at the camera, and you can feed it into the camera as well. It's instant the way that everyone will start looking at monitors in order to be able to see what's going on. Very quickly, this is location scouting using VR headsets as well. So you can sort of pre-build, or you can buy assets off of the marketplace and use them. I would really, if you're going to do Unreal Engine, really try and find something that looks something similar to what you're trying to achieve. Reason being is that actually you can make a school corridor look like a hospital corridor pretty rapidly. This is my poor long-standing intern who we turned into Keanu Reeves using some deep fake. You can use that technology. It's pretty easy. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's a tool that you can you can actually use as well. I'm aware of the time. Oh, all the time. I've got so much to show. All right then. Well, I'll just show this last one. Actually, I think this might be it. Again, my long-standing intern controlling another 4 metahumans. If you've got the kit, it's a really good, fun way of doing some stuff. Let me just show you some stuff. This was actually a master's from Greenwich University. I think this guy was doing so similar. It's pretty good. So mixing live, and so choosing when to mix live with real time, with the virtual production as well. You know, he could shoot everything else easily, right? It's because he's got location stat, but he wanted to shoot on Mars. So guess what? You know, that's how you shoot on Mars, is to go VT. I think that might be that. Yeah, I think so. I suppose that. Any questions? Go on. Yeah, cool. So the question was, and I'll see if I can get that right. Can I think of any other sources of 3D modeling to create virtual production? Or any material? Really interesting question. I mean, there are marketplaces that is relatively easy just to buy stuff, and then 3D modeling as well. It's really, really time consuming to build something. I mean, it really, really is. I would, for a 24-hour competition, you know, finding assets, you can scan an asset as well. I've got a video that I haven't introduced into that, but something called Gaussian splatting. You can do point cloud scanning, you can do loads and loads of things. So your location scanning, it's not just a 2D plate. Look it up. It's pretty amazing what they've just come along in the last 3 months, where you can do that. You can then import that mesh into Unreal Engine, and you can physically move the camera around a scan, which is pretty awesome. And they've just actually come out with a new thing where you can paint out articles, highlight meshes, and move items around within it. It's pretty nuts. But again, if you're trying to do a 48-hour competition, don't get too rabbit-holed down the use of tech versus actually what really you need to do is tell an awesome story as well. Does that sort of answer your question? Ish. I mean, it's like backplates and things like that. If you wanted a particular backplate, you can get your video cameras, you know, stick it on a car and drive down the road, and you know, you've got a driving plate if you want something specific for sure. There is. Go on. Yes. Yeah. So I'd say if you're an indie doing it absolutely on the cheap, as it were, if you can, you know, this screen is okay. Yes, you're gonna have a moray problem, so you're gonna have to try and work out where to place the talent. And you know, you might end up having to build a stage slightly forward. But you know, in my head, you can tell a story a lot with close-ups and ultra close-ups. Right, you don't need huge amounts wide, and that's where exponentially it gets more time-consuming and costly, and might start to dip into the uncanny valley if it doesn't look quite right. You know, a locked-off camera is a lot cheaper than a motion, you know, a motion tracked camera. Now, can you tell your story and get what you really want the audience to feel with that? Yes or no? If it's no, can you then, you know, if the resources there are available, then you can go to handheld or track. Can you hack it so you can have a 2.5D in a camera track? Yeah, you might be able to do that for sure. I think for indies, you know, being able to use something like a really simple green screen or a very simple LED to tell that story using really simple shots. You know, it's the strength of the storyline, bottom line. These are just tools that will help create environments that can tell that story. You know, if you do want to shoot on Mars, it's quite easy to shoot on Mars. If you want to shoot in a dungeon, it's quite easy to shoot in a dungeon. It's a lot harder to find Mars in the real world or a dungeon in the real world and light it effectively. One of the great things about virtual production is that you're in a controlled environment where you can control everything: sound, audio, camera positioning, lighting. You know, if you were trying to shoot in the bathroom of a Paris apartment, which tends to be really small, you can do that, but you've got to try and get the 15 crew or how many, you know, operating effectively, versus this is completely controlled. Audio, you know, 15 people here quite happily. They come in every day. They know where they're going. There's no disruption. There are no permits required. And there isn't sort of a wall in the way. That's the beauty of it, really. So the question was, do I know if I used any generative AI tools to create 3D assets that we've been able to use, right? So I haven't been able to show you the video that I was we did on Saturday, but Gaussian splatting uses generative AI, and it is okay. I mean, I'd say it's a very good previs tool. So you could scan this, and then you could shoot anywhere in the world, anywhere, because you just send the file to somewhere in the world, and then they could use it as a previs tool. So it's really good. Other than that, the way that we use AI is really in the process. It's a bit like using Office, you know, Microsoft Office, to help with the production of a film or of a video. It really helps with that kind of stuff. You can ask it to do camera block, you know, camera breakdown, shot blocks, and all sorts of things that you can ask it to do, which will go off and it'll give you a really good kickstart of where you want to end up going. Like you can, you know, plug in your script and say, I need to take this down to 5 minutes because it's 30 at a minute, and it'll give you a good idea. You know, it'll give you a bit of a line. So I think, you know, it'll be interesting how that starts to develop on using generative AI and the way we can use it in video. But in I don't know, my hypothesis that it's going to be like the next generation of Microsoft stuff, from typewriters to using word processors, kind of jump, rather than suddenly everyone being out of work and it's just we push a button and the next Marvel film comes out, you know. Oh.
Cool. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good break. So yeah, as you can probably tell by the presentation, I'm Patrick Gooden from Brompton Technology. I'm the technical sales manager for the UK and Ireland, and I'm here to talk to you about accurate color reproduction and RGBW panels. I guess because, you know, as we're here in sort of an educational setting, it's sometimes find it helpful to say a little bit about my background, how I got into this role. I actually did a sort of a straight music and drama degree doing performance stuff, but then I came out of that degree and went into sort of like technical theatre and working on events and through projection, and then that's how I got into the LED world. And so now, instead of being behind the desk operating the stuff, I'm out talking about it and promoting the company, and then just talking about the industry in general. So if you have the next slide, please. That's all good. So yeah, just got a little bit about the company. Brompton is a UK-based manufacturer of LED processing. If you don't know what an LED processor is, it's in a very important part of like a VP workflow. One that might not be 100% apparent from looking around here, because we've got a camera, we've got LED, but what is sitting behind in a rack there is an LED processor, and that's controlling the LED and telling the pixels what to do, managing the color, making sure it looks great on the camera. And throughout this talk, we're going to go through a lot of the features and things that we do to make sure the color on the LED is looking as good as possible. So we've been a company for about 12 years now. We're about 80 people globally across 5 offices, with our headquarters in London, and that's where all our manufacturing, our support. So it's all London based, it's London built, London designed, but goes around globally to a multitude of studios and applications. But it's not just VP that we do. And actually, before 2019, when The Mandalorian started, we weren't really in the VP space at all, because it didn't exist. Go to the next slide, please. So before 2019, The Mandalorian, and when VP started, we were known primarily for our live events work. So we built our processor is very rugged, it's very reliable. So on big shows like you know, Ed Sheeran's tours, there's a picture of it. So if you just go back one slide, that's amazing. We were used on that, and then for installation work like the BT Tower, you can see here our processing was chosen for the BT Tower. And I'm going to go into this talk quite a lot, talk a lot about color, and they wanted to make sure that the purple of their branding was perfect, and that's why they chose our processing. If you go to the next slide. But then Rob spoke about The Mandalorian. That was a very good starting point for all this like LED and in-camera virtual effects in the virtual production world. We were very lucky to be chosen to be the processing platform on that production, which meant that when a lot of people looked at how to do VP, they saw Brompton Processing as the choice for that, because we were used on that big touchstone production. And since then, the industry's got huge, and you can see a few of the, so you know, it doesn't always have to be the massive volumes, the 20 processors, multiple cameras. It can just be as simple as a little XR stage with a floor for like a corporate boardroom or a music video or something, all the way through to our massive volumes there. Cool. Go to the next slide. Cool. So as I said before, the processor is kind of that end point. If you look at this diagram here, you can see that you've got right at this side, you've got the processor, which is our SX40, that goes to the LED wall, and that's controlling. But if you look here, there's a huge amount of work that you're doing before it hits our system. So you've got your content that's been made in the Unreal Engine or wherever you're making it. That's being rendered to your media server. That's being recorded by your camera. You set up your tracking system. And if you don't have a processor that takes all the information, all the good work you've done, and processes it properly before it gets to the LED wall, it all falls apart. So you've done all this really good work, and then you're sending all that content, all that work through one single point. If that doesn't manage your color properly, manage how it's looking on your camera properly, you're not going to get a good result when it hits your LED. Cool. For the next slide, please. Cool. So this is just like a quick video. Hey, we won an Emmy. This is just a quick video going through showing our products, and as it's going through, you'll see some of our features and some of the project that we've been working on. So I'll just let. Yeah, that's quite all right. Yeah, just pull that down. That's cool. Cool, thank you. Let's get the next slide up. Cool, so yeah, so you can see that there's a huge amount of projects that have trusted our processing with their content. And one of the big things about why people choose our processing is the color performance. And we have to do a huge amount of work because LEDs are very, every LED panel is different. They drive the pixels different. They've got different pixels. They've got different internal driver chips. They've got different, and all these different panels, we need to make sure that you're getting the best possible color as possible. And one of the things that helps us do that, if I get the next slide, is our calibration system. Oh, sorry. Forgot what slide was coming next. No, keep going. That's just a big picture of a stage. There it is. And there's another big picture of a stage. And then what I wanted to say was our calibration system. So in order to measure color, we've built our own calibration system because we need to know every pixel on this wall has a slightly different color performance. You don't turn on your LED wall to a green and you're getting the exact same green out of every pixel. Each pixel will vary. And if we don't measure those the color capabilities of each individual pixel, we're not going to be able to drive the content and the color accurately. So we have our own color calibration system called the Hydra that before you buy your panels in the factory, we measure every single pixel on your LED wall. And then we turn that into a report. Next slide. Cool. So this is sort of our color report that comes out of our calibration system. And I'm not sure if you've seen this chart before, but this is called a CIE chart. And this is sort of all visible color, or that the human eye can see represented on a 2D graph. And if you see this white triangle here, that is what your LED panel, this is just a sample measurement, every panel will be different. The LED will be able to represent accurately any color within that triangle. But if you've created some content, let's say that wants this green up here, that is outside that triangle, the LED is not going to be able to accurately represent that. And that means we then have to get you as close as possible while still maintaining the color quality and the color hue that you're aiming for. If you go to the next slide, if we go into green, we can zoom into sort of this green area. And this is quite a standard panel. You can see each one of these dots is a pixel, and you can see how varied each pixel is. So one pixel can do this green right up here, and one pixel can only do this green right down there. And if we don't manage that properly, you're going to end up with a very noisy and uncooperative image that's going to be really hard to work with when you're trying to get color accuracy through the VP process. If you pop to the next slide. So yeah, that's our calibration is called dynamic calibration, and that allows you to, we give you all the color information, and then you can choose how that color is managed on the processor. Cool, let's go to the next slide. So one thing that our calibration process allows you to unlock is the ability to show HDR video. And this is incredibly important because in a VP environment, you're generally running the wall at quite a low brightness. And if you're able to pump HDR video and display it properly on the processor, you can get a huge amount more detail in the very, very dim areas of your content. HDR video, it's prioritizing the detail in that very, very low end. But when you're running some dimmer content, I think earlier we were talking about a dungeon scene, that's going to be very dim. If you're running your screen dim with dim content, you still want to make sure that you're getting all the detail in your video content. And I think going through in a second, after I talk a bit more about color, I'll show you some of the features that we do to ensure you're getting all that detail in the low end of the content. Cool, should we go to the next slide? So we've just got a few other tools in there just to be able to allow you to tweak colors within the processor. It's not just a box that takes in a content and spits it out. If you want to make any color changes, you could do it upstream in your render engine, you could do it in the Unreal Engine, or you can do some of these color changes on the processor itself. Actually, yesterday I was at a short film shoot at a studio in London, and they were using some of these tools to pull in some of the color capabilities of their scene and get their scene looking exactly how they want. So we've got a color replace, which allows you to, as you can see by that example, pick a color, replace it with another color. We've got a 14-way color corrector, which allows you to take any of sort of primary, secondary, or tertiary colors and just mess with their hue, their saturation, and their brightness. If we go to the next slide, we've got a curve, which allows you to sort of boost the highlights and the lowlights of white, red, green, and blue. And then we have a 3D LUT. If you don't know what a 3D LUT is, it's essentially a way of remapping color. You get a sort of, this is a LUT, sort of a 17 cubed LUT, and then it allows you to say, okay, actually, when I receive this green value, make it slightly different green. Or when I receive this red value, make it blue, right? Let's say you're in sort of, if you were filming the Matrix, you might apply a LUT that sort of brings all the color into that sort of greeny look that the Matrix is going for. So we can upload these LUTs into our processor to give you the look that you want on the LED. Go to the next slide. Cool. So I mentioned before when I was talking about HDR about low brightness and low brightness enhancement. Again, very important. You're in a studio, you're generally not running. For a live event, you might be running your panels as bright as you want. In the studio, you might be down at 15, 20, 25%. So you need to make sure you're still getting the detailing quality in that low brightness area. So we go next slide. So we have a feature called extended bit depth, which allows you to run your panel faster to so to give you more detail in the low end. So I'm not going to go into the exact technical descriptor exactly how we're doing this, but what it allows you to do on the right hand side, you see an image, a very dim image that has been with our feature turned off, and you can see you are not getting like in the details in the rocks down the bottom. We're not getting it. We're not getting the gradient in the sky is looking very, very bandy. But we're getting bands of brightness rather than a smooth gradient. What we're able to do on the processor is turn on our features, and it will run the panels in a slightly different way, but while aiming to maintain and giving you the details and the gradients that you need to display this content properly, which if you're trying to shoot a low brightness scene, will be very important. We could do the next slide. We also have a feature called Pure Tone, which is doing a similar thing, but as LED panels dim, they don't always dim in a linear fashion, meaning if we ask the processor asks the panel for 5% gray, like a 5% red, green, blue, the panels might not give it back to us. So we do a measurement that measures the panel's performance across the whole dimming range at that very low brightness, and then we apply a correction to make sure you're getting a proper grayscale across your entire dimming range of your processor, ensuring you're getting the right color and as few bands as possible. Can I get the next slide, please? So the other thing that I was going to speak to you today was about RGB W panels. And this is important because LED panels are often used, whether you want them to or not, they are a lighting source. I know I'm being lit by these lights here, but there's also a lot of light coming off these panels. And in a VP volume where you might be surrounded by LED, a lot of that light is hitting people's skin. It's reflecting off everything in the room. I know when Rob was speaking earlier, he showed us sort of a car shoot where the car is completely enveloped by LED. All that light is going to be reflecting off the color of the car. So the way we manage the light that's coming off these panels and the color capabilities of it is incredibly important in giving us accurate reflections. So we can get to the next slide. So standard panels, like these ones here, have red, green, and blue emitters on them. So they give out red, green, and blue light, and then those combine together to create the great saturated colors, which is amazing to the eye because our eyes also work with red, green, and blue emitters. So we're receiving the right color, we're combining those colors together, and we're getting accurate color in our eyes, which is great. But the problem with this is, if we go to the next slide, back. Yeah, cool. Yeah, keep going. The one with the guy is the right slide, I think. The problem is when this hits people's skin, because our skin contains a huge amount of color in it, and there's actually quite a lot of. Sorry, I might have sent you too far forward. Do you want to just go back one? Cool. As you can see here, this is the red, green, and blue reproduction of an LED panel. Now, all this color here is not represented in the light that is leaving this panel. So when this hits our skin, that includes a lot, and all skin tones have a lot of like orangey color in them. That light, because the color's not in the light, it doesn't reflect back, and we look very red and orangey. So if we look at this picture here of this very handsome young gentleman on the next slide, he's not looking completely natural. So if we skip forward, that is why we have introduced a feature called True Light, which is how we manage the color of LED panels to give you more natural reflections when you're using them in a VP environment. So if we go to the next slide, here is a sort of a comparison of, so this is the guy lit with standard panels with just red, green, and blue light. And then this is when we introduce a white emitter or an extra emitter into the panels. And you can see that he's looking far more natural and his skin tones are looking far more natural. We go to the next slide. And this is because, as I said before, when you are using just red, green, and blue, a lot of this color information is not in the light as it leaves the panel. When we turn on a white emitter, it just creates a much broader spectrum. So we're getting the exact same color out of the panel, but just represented differently spectrally. So we now have those skin tones in the orangey areas are now in the light leaving the panel. So when they hit our skin, all the color in our skin reflects back and the camera will pick up the correct skin tones. If we go to the next panel, the next slide. Cool, I've just got a little video that goes through the feature in a bit and has some more examples of how this affects people's, is it on there? Unless it's on a later slide. It could be on a later slide. I thought it was there because the screen was black. So this is just another example of the difference in skin tone. And also you can see in the red of the headscarf she's wearing, as we flip between, do you want to go back one slide? You see in RGB, the red is, the scarf is looking too saturated. It's only reflecting those really saturated reds, and her skin tones just don't look natural. Looks a bit like a raspberry. And if we skip to the next slide, you can see she's looking far more natural. And suddenly the light leaving your LED is more spectrally aware, and we're getting proper color out of the LED. Do you want to skip the next slide? So yeah, ideally, we're trying to get as close to daylight as possible. And this technique helps you do that. Cool. Next slide. This might be the video. No? I hope it's fine. It might not have copied across properly. We'll leave it. It's cool. Do you want to go to the next slide? And as I said, this works for all skin tones. All skin tones have those orangey pigments. So again, for this lovely chap, we go from his skin not looking completely natural to the next slide, where he's lit, more spectrally aware, and we're getting proper reflections of proper skin tones. Cool. Next slide. And yeah, this is just an example on a color checker chart. You can see if we look at this red, the red with RGB is looking a bit too overly saturated. Once we light it with RGBW, it's looking looking much better. Cool. Next slide. So yeah, there's a few problems with RGB video when you're lighting people or things, and we're just going to go through some of them here and what the solutions are within the technology. So just hit next. This slide has a few things. So with RGBW, there's many different combinations that achieve the exact same color. So we can turn on different LEDs but have this exact same color if that's managed properly. So if you click next, you can choose how much you turn that white LED on, that extra LED on, and then we'll change what we do with the red, green, and blue LED to ensure you still get the exact same color. Cool, perfect. So you can choose how much of the white LED you use, and we'll still give you the same color, just represented different spectrally. If you go to the next one, you might have some very, very bright scenes, and you might want to boost your LEDs to get the most brightness out of your panel. And so for that, if you click next, we have a spectral headroom, which allows you to boost your pixels as bright as they can go. So if you've got like a really bright light or a sun, you've got a very dim scene, but you want to make sure that the bright light or the sun is as bright as possible. You can say, okay, well, let's boost it so when we want it, we're getting the brightest the panel can possibly do. And because if you hit next, different cameras will perceive LEDs differently. You can get your color looking as amazing as you want to the eye. You put your camera on it and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not picking up as much red as we want. So if you hit next, you can choose to boost or pull back the red, green, the blue LED. So if the color you're getting in the camera is not exactly how you want it, you can pull down the green or boost the red and just mess with the colors a little bit. And while you do that, we will affect what the other LEDs are doing, so you're still getting accurate color. And this is very complex. If you hit next, because we are doing this on a per pixel basis. So if you think every pixel on this screen is different, you're giving us the video, and every pixel is working out how to introduce that white pixel per frame with no latency. And for that, we have our, we hit next, we have our G1 receiver card, which is our new card that sits inside the panel that has a massive, very powerful chip on it that deals with all that color information in real time, ensuring that you're getting the best out of the panels. Cool. Do you want to hit next? And this is just some color data. So again, as if you look at the right-hand side, this is what I was speaking about earlier about how the standard red, green, blue panels, you see we're just representing, we've just got these three very peaky spikes of red, green, and blue. We're not getting a good overall spread of color. And then when we introduce the white pixel, the extra pixel, we're getting much closer to sunlight and you're getting the natural colors. And this is not just for skin. If as I said before, if you're wrapping a car around an LED, and that's hitting the car, it's not going to look proper. The colors might look overly saturated if you don't do this. If you're doing like advertising or a fashion shoot, where you've got clothes where the colors you're using are very important, lighting just with LED could cause problems with those colors. Cool. Do you want to hit next? Cool. Hey, I found the video. Perfect. Let's play this. Cool, perfect. Do you want to hit next? Cool. So just a very brief overview that how we're able to do this is with our very powerful calibration system that can measure very accurately the color of the pixels. And then we have inside each panel is our card, which takes in the video, processes it, and makes sure that what's coming out the panel is exactly how the creators want it. Cool. I believe that is, I think that's my last slide. If we skip forward, there should be a thank you unless I've missed something. Cool. That's yes, I think that is everything. So I think I finished on time, which is amazing. Amazing. I'm getting a thumbs up from up there. So that's great news. Yeah, if there's any questions, you're very welcome to ask them. Otherwise, thank you very much. Cool. Mhm. Yes. Well, yes, that's a good question. I'm glad I can clarify that. No, True Light is our support for RGBW panels or extra panels with extra emitters. So yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, we don't produce LED panels. We're just a processing manufacturer. So True Light is the way that we manage other people's panels. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. It is the camera what the camera's capturing. Yeah. Mhm. So cool. So I mean, all of our, yeah, sure. So the question was about, a lot of the things I've been talking about is color accuracy, and what I've been talking about is color accuracy as it leaves the LED panel. And the question was that, well, obviously the most important thing is the camera, what the camera's seeing, because the camera is not capturing what's on the LED accurately, then that doesn't matter. So all of our calibration tools and all of our all that work we do in the factory to measure the panels, that is prioritizing as the color leaves the panel to the eye, because that's what we measure. That's what we can control. So anything like in terms of what the cameras can see, we've got things on the processor that allow you to affect the color to try and match and get it to look as good as it can on the camera. So as I say, we've got our 3D LUT. You can upload LUTs, or you control our processor with third-party systems like LiveLooks, live grade and simulate LiveLooks and things like that. So you could tools that like a DIT or a DOP are used to, they can control the color with those tools. Or as I said, in the True Light, we've got those tools, so you can, once we've done our calculation, we're saying like, hey, this is how we think the panel should run for the most accurate color out of the panel. But if you think we need to tweak, or you're not getting exactly what you want in the camera, you can pull down the red value, you can boost the green. There's all those color controls within the processor. You can change the color space within the processor. You can change your white point color targets within the processor. So we calibrate the panels and give you like, okay, this is what we think is giving you the most accurate color out of the panels, and then you get the tools to pull those color targets around and move things around, upgrade LUTs and do what you want. So yeah, there isn't a process where we take what the camera is seeing and reapply it back to the processor. It's the manual tools and within the software that allow you to do that matching. Or you could do LUTs on the camera and things like that as well. Yeah, so we we love to be helpful with educational institutes. Is the question. It wasn't really a question, it was more of a command, but I'm very happy to do it. No, it is a big focus. Because we're a London-based company. We want to support the education sector. There's a bunch of institutions that have Brompton powered panels or get Brompton powered panels in when they need them, and we want to support education wherever we can. So sometimes we'll do sessions where people can come into our office, students can come through and have a look at the tech. We do run free training sessions in our London office every month. They're not screened, like you can just sign up for them. So any student could sign up on those courses, come in. They're usually on a Wednesday and Thursday, the last week of every month in our offices in London. But we've also done things where we've come to universities and done like short sessions and spoken through the tech and how to use it and things like that. So, and also we've got a very, our support team is great. And if you ever have any questions or anything, you feel free just to reach out to our support team, and they will come back to you with an answer. I mean, I know someone from a university recently was writing his final project on virtual production. He sent me a bunch of questions. I replied, very happy to do that. So please get in contact with support if you want any information in that regard. So yeah, whatever we can do, really. Cool, thank you.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to participate in this event. I kind of found out about this very much at the last minute. So it is roughly 5 a.m. here in Los Angeles where I'm based. But I'm thrilled to be participating in this and just giving a chance to kind of talk a little bit more about what we're doing in the virtual production world with HTC Vive. As many of you know, we're traditionally a virtual reality company. I do a poll of hands, but I'm sure a lot of the folks there in the audience, you've worn our headsets through the years. If you've kind of dabbled in immersive technologies, storytelling technologies, and the like. All right, here we go. How's that?
Beautiful.
All right, fantastic. So like I was saying, us at HTC Vive, we've been in the virtual reality industry for a long time. Even before that, we were a cell phone company. So some of y'all might have had our cell phones kind of back in the day. We still release a handful of cell phones a year, but we've primarily transitioned over into being a virtual reality company. Actually, we've had our kind of hooks and cell phone industry for a long time. If you've ever used the Google Pixel or even the first Google phone, the G1, those were actually devices that were manufactured by HTC, manufactured and designed by HTC. But we're very excited that we're kind of on to this next chapter for our technology with virtual reality. And if anyone has played with our headsets, especially probably in the early or the late 2000 teens, early 20s, you know that there's a variety of different kind of fun things that have been kludged together as it relates to early virtual production with our headsets and trackers. Things from kind of mocap to VCam setups. There's a lot of fun pictures on the internet of people strapping our VR controllers on top of cameras to be able to have this kind of rudimentary VCam solutions. And even those tools were used in films like The Lion King, Jungle Book, Ready Player One. A lot of these kind of seminal works that are often measured as kind of the beginning of this most recent wave of virtual production. And we're excited that we've kind of been a part of the ride this whole time. From that, we learned that there's actually a general interest for this type of hardware. And due to the kind of technology infrastructure that we had with our virtual reality products, we decided to build, where we pulled the film industry and really kind of found out what were the missing pieces that were required to create essentially a professional camera tracking solution in order to offer that and kind of provide everything that was missing in regards to this experience with people who were, using our trackers, using our controllers and the like to generate these similar type of systems. And so as a result, we built Vive Mars Cam Track solution. We announced it at NAB in 2022 behind closed doors. We took a lot of kind of industry leaders, put them in this room, showed them this demo. And everyone was really impressed, both by the quality of the camera tracking as well as the affordability of the price. Unlike a lot of other camera tracking solutions out on the market that I'm not sure what y'all might have there in your facility, but you can spend as much money as you want to hang a solution from the ceiling, be it reflective markers, cameras, etc. And we have found that while that's great for a lot of folks, there is this kind of substantial barrier to entry. And we are all about trying to democratize the virtual production space and make this technology much more accessible. Additionally, a lot of education institutions, even independent operators, don't necessarily have the privilege of having a dedicated space. You see this incredible virtual production volume that you're looking at on the screen. This is actually a studio in Taiwan that we're very, very close with. If you didn't know, HTC Vive, we are actually a Taiwanese company. And so, that allows us to have access all over the world in regards to teams utilizing our technology. And kind of at what was mentioned in the previous presentation is that, the secret sauce of virtual production, in my opinion, or the unsung hero, is camera tracking. You see these incredible walls, you see the incredible image that, processors like Brompton are putting on these walls. You see these fantastic environments, but a lot of creators don't realize the significance of matching the position of the virtual camera in your virtual environment to the physical position of the camera that you're using on set. Because without that, you get uncanny images, you get warping, you get very you detract from the visual experience. That's really the point. With great virtual production, you don't even realize it's there. And so we have really kind of dove in to make this accessible to everyone, especially education institutions. That is a big focus for us. So potentially for the cost of one of these other solutions, you can buy multiple of our cam tracking solutions and be able to deploy it to a much larger community of creators. Let's see if this video plays.
Our first Vive VR system.
I might suggest you optimize the video when you do screen share.
Inspired us to make it better. Introducing Vive Mars Cam Track. Virtual production made simple. Mars makes pipelines fast, easy, and affordable by consolidating the entire camera tracking workflow with a compact, plug and play sequence.
All right. Well, I will post that. I suspect that due to my sharing, that the quality is low, but I'll post this link in the chat.
It's pretty massive if you didn't know landscape already. But with
Let's just move forward. That's probably better for everyone. You saw kind of a rudimentary version of this diagram in the Brompton presentation. You know, everyone kind of has their own kind of layout of what the virtual production pipeline looks like, and everyone kind of does a great job of showcasing where their place within it is. What you're looking at here is where Vive Mars traditionally exists within that pipeline, and that is kind of after the environment, but before the before the LED wall itself or green screen. You know, what are the advantages that we have with our solution being so agile and so portable is that we still, while LED volumes are incredible, they are all also incredibly expensive, and so we work with a lot of green screen operators as well, broadcasts, you know, like I said, independent operators, people who have converted their garages into green screen volumes, giving them the functionality to be able to have a quality camera tracking solution, to be able to do a lot more than just static images in that green screen volume. Additionally, we have also created a lens encoder. So one of the other kind of shortcomings of filming on a volume a lot of time is that you have this incredible environment, you have this incredible parallax, but you zoom, you adjust the iris, and the background pretty much stays the same. And the exciting thing about virtual cameras is that they can do everything that your camera can do physically. And so by providing this BizTrack lens encoder, we are able to actually push that data back into Engine to allow you to have those same sort of barrel transformations that you're doing on your physical camera in glass, in the virtual environment as well. Yeah, so Vive Mars is built on the same infrastructure, like I said, as our kind of first generation of VR headsets, while the majority of the VR landscape has moved to inside-out tracking, including ourselves with our line of all-in-one VR headsets. This technology is still quite valuable, and we found that the quality of the tracking volume that we have created as it relates to our base station technology lends perfectly to camera tracking, allowing you to create up to a 10 meter by 10 meter volume of tracking that you can use for tracking anything. Traditionally, our users are tracking cameras, but we've also found that a lot of our users like to use it to track lights, to track props, use it as a recenter point in the world to be able to recalibrate your environment very quickly. And a lot of this is, like I said, been made possible by the leaps in technology that we made with our VR business. The biggest piece of what we're doing is we are very easy to install. Again, you set up your base stations, plug in the Mars box, plug it into your environment, and then as long as your environment is in Unreal, we support Live Link, and then we are very close with Ximetry. We have a great relationship with them. Some of the projects I'll show you later, we actually used Ximetry for, but we also support 3D, which is a legacy data tracking protocol in this space, which unlocks a lot of other softwares that you can use for tracking data. Like I said, 3D has allowed us to participate in the Ximetry ecosystem. I know that there are some users who are pushing this 3D data into places like Maya or other sort of environments. We're working on getting ourselves into Unity as well, which is not so much of a virtual production tool, but is used kind of well known universally across the VR ecosystem. And with the acquisition that Unity made with Weta a couple years ago, clearly they have some interest in regards to this. So we're eager to see where that may lead. Additionally, portability, the ability to to kind of set this up anywhere. while a lot of our users have these kind of dedicated studio environments and kind of permanent settings, permanent setups as it relates to Mars, the agility of our technology is one of its greatest advantages. We have seen our technology used in some very unique spaces. You know, being able to take an advantage of actual physical props that are in the scene or you know, traditionally immovable, being able to build a green screen around this prop and still be able to track a person interacting with it. Or similarly, you know, corporate communication teams that are going to go into an office set up in a boardroom, hang a green screen, light it, and then be able to do a bunch of kind of talking heads and interview keynote type productions. For us, we're not solely interested in just the cinematic. We're finding that there's a variety of other use cases that our users are utilizing as it relates to camera tracking. Additionally, out of the box, you know, the Mars CamTrack kit comes with 3 rovers, 3 trackable objects. And this is all part of the kind of the low price of $5,000 US, was that roughly 4,000 in British pounds. And that allows you know, and this allows you to track multiple objects. Like I said, we've had teams that will use 2 cameras with you know, two frustrums, using one of the trackers just to be able to create a fast reset point for the purposes of resetting. A lot of times when you work in some of these larger environments, depending on the type of pans and whips that you are doing, sometimes your environment becomes slightly askew. And so we found that that it's very important for our users to be able to reset and recalibrate that with the click of a button, which is different than a lot of other solutions out there, where that tracking can take pardon me, hours, if not days, to properly calibrate. For us, we calibrate very quickly, which you'll see in the next next slide. But additionally, like being able to track multiple objects, one of my favorite kind of uses for the 3rd rover is attaching a physical light to that rover, and then attaching a virtual light in Unreal to that same tracker, allowing you to be able to wash your subject with a physical light, illuminating them with the physical light, and then having that virtual light also pass within the environment. So say you're doing searching through the darkness or something like that, you're able to have these really cool lighting effects that are genuinely tracked and create even higher degrees of realism in your shots. Additionally, we've had people put virtual characters, objects like a helicopter or something like that in an environment, and move the tracker around and be able to have that sort of movement occurring in the scene. So the potentials in regards to what we are tracking is really limitless. Additionally, like I said, like the one-click reset to origin is probably one of our most thanked features that we have. Being able to use one of the rovers as a dedicated origin point and recenter to it with just the click of a button on the Mars box. Soon we'll actually even be allowing you to be able to do that on remote devices. So you'll be able to log into a web page and see the Mars box there and be able to recenter rather than having to go to the box directly. But this removes a lot of headache on sets from a lot of the kind of sneaker travel time, going back and forth, having to reset environments and the like, allowing you not to lose as much time on the day. And then lastly, like I mentioned, we at the beginning of this year, the end of last year, we announced our FizTrack, our lens encoder. This is a device that allows you to attach it to the barrel of your lens, and as the lens transforms, it spins this wheel. That wheel sends that transform data back to Unreal or whatever engine you might be using to give you that transform data on the virtual lens. And this is for a lot of our users what we were told was the missing piece in regards to what we're offering, and this is also aggressively priced as well. So these tools are made to really democratize this technology and give accessibility to it across the industry without compromising the quality of the tracking. So like I said, we've found that we've been used in a variety of different use cases. You would not, no surprise, commercials. There's this is kind of an old list, but you know, Car Stage, they do a lot of car process things, a variety of different products and kind of corporate communication type videos utilizing Mars. Some of these stages are actually quite small. So you know, I've seen well, one of these commercials actually filmed is really only on like a 20 or 30-foot wall. So the size that some of these productions are happening in it's quite small, and it's allowing these small to medium studio operators to really unlock a lot of business around what they're doing. Additionally, if you're a fan of Corridor Digital at all, they were kind of one of the folks who gave us great insight in regards to what Mars Camtrack needed to do to be considered a professional class product, and they've been using it exclusively for the second season of their Son of a Dungeon series, which is filmed at their in their studio in front of green screen, and they have all kinds of incredible things in the video that I'll share later. You'll see some clips of their workflow around it, some of the content they've created. And it's just incredible to know that this is a big green screen here in Los Angeles, and what they've turned into this incredible, fantastical environment. Additionally, like I said, education is a big focus for us. You know, we see that virtual production isn't going away. It is becoming a more and more ubiquitous paradigm for production. While it's not a silver bullet, there's a lot of incredible things you can do. There's a lot of much more affordable, high quality sort of elements you can create using this technology, and we are all for making this accessible to students and educators, so that you can learn this, and we can help kind of launch the next generation of filmmakers with virtual production. And it's been incredible. We're seeing a lot of interest here in North America. In APAC, we're slowly pushing our way into EMEA. So hopefully we inspire some of y'all students to potentially check this out, and we can see what we can do about getting this integrated into the program here. And then probably one of the more interesting things is that we were approached by Blizzard at the end of last year to come on and leverage their Overwatch 2 property, and we created a interactive video booth, like photo booth, but video at BlizzCon, using their actual video game levels, using their characters. I would play this video, but I don't think it's quite optimized for streaming. Allowing general attendees, as well as incredibly cosplayed participants, to come out and actually get to dance and interact with some of their favorite virtual characters from Overwatch 2. Did we actually get? Okay, we're not getting it. And this is kind of what the BTS looks like. In this scene, we showed up at BlizzCon at the Anaheim Convention Center, right next to Disneyland. AOTA was kind enough to loan us 2 walls and an LED floor, and we were able to create this kind of forced perspective vision of their virtual world, accurately portrayed through the camera tracking. We use set extension as well, so that we could extend the environment to beyond what the limitations of the 2 walls and floor were. But it was incredible. People loved it. In 2 days, we pushed almost 1,000 people through the experience. They were able to kind of take that experience, text it to themselves, and share it socially. And this was a huge hit, and a use case that we never even really thought of in regards to Mars. So we're really excited to see all the potential use cases and content that will come from Mars Camtrack. yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, we're not just a VR company. Vive Mars is a tiny team within HTC Vive, but we're really excited to be in this space and being able to kind of rub shoulders with a lot of the bigger players in this space, larger studios, but also being to be kind of at the at the ground truth of this industry, where a lot of kind of new creators are finding ways to engage with this, and allowing us to be able to be that tool that allows them to kind of push their content to the next level. That's what I got.
Yes.
Hey, hello.
Hi. So we're standing in front of an LED wall, which is not designed for virtual production, but hey, it's done the job this morning. I wanted to ask you, and I think I'll stand over here so I can see you. So first of all, we're big fans of HTC Vive because we tried other trackers which are more expensive, and so we just sort of got hold of a couple of Vive trackers, and they seem to work. So that's good. We've got 4 base stations now, and we're looking at getting the fizz thing would be also good. So how do you think your product compares to the likes of the NCAMs and the Mosys and the sort of the established peeps? I'm just sort of interested to see how you place yourself, because it's great for us kind of indie filmmakers, but I wonder how you see yourself in comparison, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that the only limitation of our product is that we are constrained by 4 base stations. So unlike other products in the market, which can place an unlimited number of cameras in the air or an unlimited number of reflective dots on the ceiling, we are constrained by that tracking volume. But we are finding that this kind of vanity fad of these enormous stages, virtual production stages, is actually starting to go by the wayside. We're starting to see even some of the kind of medium to large stages here in Los Angeles not get booked as much as some of these small to medium stages. A lot of times the term is referred to as an insert stage, where teams will actually come back kind of after they've done a lot of their principal photography to do, like, say, an over the shoulder shot that they forgot to do with their famous actor, and so instead they're going to put someone else in the same clothing, go back to that virtual environment and just film that over the shoulder, or a lot of kind of other sort of photography. Similarly, product photography, commercials, music videos, the like. These are productions that really can leverage virtual production, but don't necessarily need a $100,000 a day virtual production stage to be able to deliver these type of experiences. From a tracking perspective, our community has told us how happy they are with the quality of it. Again, the accessibility. A lot of our partners actually have already invested in these other solutions. And one of the things that we're really interested in is trying to figure out how our ecosystem can also potentially work with these other existing systems. Perhaps you already have a Mosys system for your camera, but Mars could be a solution to allow you to track other objects and the like as it relates to your production at a much more affordable price. And then if you are unable to, if you have not made this investment yet, Mars is like this great kind of entry level high quality solution. It provides a lot of features that are not available when you just use base stations and trackers. The ability to ingest time code into your feed, the ability to gen lock, so that which becomes much more important when you're using LED walls, so you don't get banding and the like. We found that our solution is very forgiving as it relates to green screens, which is accessible to everybody. And then as you move to more expensive, more professional type settings, we still have the same quality tracking, and that is really appreciated by everyone kind of across the line.
Fantastic. Any questions from the vast swathes of audience in the seminar? Oh,
So
right,
look-
okay. Right, Ray, you got to stay there and pose, and then all the speakers are going to come up on stage, and I guess Jazz and everyone else is going to do some photography.
Nice.
Oh, we
I feel
do.
like
We'll
Queen
do what?
Bo, just-
Yeah,
How many have you taken?
they take. Yeah, I think they're taking millions. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Well done, and thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.